in our era, I would say that the phrase avoidance culture is extremely useful to this end. So, I, as far as I know, am the originator of the term avoidance culture. And insofar as uh, defining it, we can say something like the abstainment from communicating or completing a task. I'll think on it. I have a good definition written down on Facebook. So, avoidance culture is the refraining from addressing discomfort, either through task, relationship. There's my definition. That's avoidance culture. Refraining from engaging in difficulty. Okay. So we have a definition. So what's the problem? Why does it matter? Where do we see it? So avoidance is seen in work in quiet quitting. Either it's from having a workload that's high, which I understand being overwhelmed. So it's overwhelm potentially and avoiding, or avoiding anything out of anxiety. Okay. So avoiding work duties, avoiding finding a job, avoiding completing difficult college courses. You can trace it all the way down to high school or younger, because a lot of the avoidance methods that kids learn are at just that in their childhood and kid years. So avoidance has risen to prominence as a model for conflict resolution in the wake of the social media explosion. So, our metaphors are our maps. And in our world, blocking, muting, logging out, all of these metaphors and functions have to come with us into the real world. Okay. So, well, why does that really matter? Well, because now, if you don't want to talk to someone, so this began in the era of MySpace, Friendster, and then Facebook, and then continuing on into our Instagram world, right? And the idea that if you don't wish to engage with someone, you block them for a no muss, no fuss, easy, clean break became prominent. That was invented essentially then, right? Like the only thing before blocking would have been pulling your phone out of the wall or a restraining order or you name it. So, all right, let's think about it. So, blocking via email, blocking a sender, if you want to trace it that far back. But I really think the function of blocking and the feeling you get from disengaging from a person is uniquely encapsulated and emblematically symbolized by social media, because you see a face, you see a profile or the bubbles on the screen, you block it, they're gone. Or there's an emptiness there. There's a closure. There is nothing for the other person to respond to. So you could go philosophical with that. Like it just shows the conversation's over. There's no negotiation. So this way of thinking that at discomfort, punch out, has risen to extreme levels of ubiquity, of commonality in millennials and Gen Z, particularly Gen Z, because Gen Z doesn't know that there was a world before that. So the idea that you just ignore difficult stuff or you block it, it has been with them their whole lives, if you think about it. If they were born in the late 90s, which they were, and came of consciousness and age in an era of the 2010s, because they would have been like 10 onward, right? In like 09, 10, 11, 12, 2012, I mean. And that's where this stuff was well underway. So you raise the entire generation to think, if something bothers you, block it out. That's what to do. Take in mass amounts of data and people and daters. If you're on a dating app, you don't like it, one thing annoys you, block, because that's the way you sift through mass amount of data in the form of people. Aha, there's another problem. Avoidance culture is fed perversely by saturation culture, data saturation. Dating apps don't guarantee you 5 good dates with 5 different people. Excuse me. They don't guarantee you'll get 5 good matches in a date each, right? That will be matchmaking. You get 100 plus guys or girls that you don't really have much in common with. Maybe they'll ghost you and you get down to like 1. So our model is very evil for what dating is. So it looks like saying, I am in this slug out and I have to fight to possibly get a date with somebody. And I'm going to be argumentative and sift this massive amount of people through being a little difficult, or if anyone else does any follow, it makes it easy to block them. And that gets me down to 99 guys instead of 100. Well, to go on a date with, to talk to as a woman. So, okay. So there's a problem there because you're incentivized to be difficult and to block if you have mass amounts of people that are essentially bothering you. And you're trying to find who it is you want to talk to and date, right? So, okay, big deal stuff that we don't talk about nearly enough. So, and I'm getting this out because I'll probably take what I say here and turn into a transcript that's cleaner. But so the problem is this affects Christians and non-Christians, and grown ass men and grown ass women don't want to address the little ass, the younger ass, I guess, men and women in their 20s and teens, in their maybe even early 30s, the whole 20s and teens. You could just take all that age range and say they don't know how to deal with conflict. They don't, and they make other people suffer. They punch out and refuse to talk. And older people who've always been avoidant love this because they get to say, "Ooh, well, I have always loved avoiding, and I used to find ways before technology to avoid. Now I have the technology and it's socially acceptable. Yay." So that's what an avoidant 40-plus-year-old would think is, oh, I remember a time before smartphones, but you know what? I love that smartphones now allow me to put technology to my avoidance, to my neurotic avoidance of anything that causes anxiety. So online daters can block you easily. People will do that. People first started blocking in those instances where it's a stranger. And then now the cutoff could be you block somebody or don't talk to them in your own church or school. Like, to me, the question is, how do you know they won't call you on it? How do you know they won't say, yo, you blocked me? What is this? Why did you block me? Who are you to do this? So, but that thought is, well, if they do that, I'll call the police or I'll do XYZ, whatever. So there's like a real psychopathy that comes along with chronic blocking because you just think this is my right and I'm going to do that no matter what the other person's thoughts are. And I'm talking obviously, I hope it's obvious. We're not talking about blocking someone who sends you death threats or is harassing you, is legally like you've had to get a legal order for them to stop talking or that you just don't want to talk to. I'm talking about if there's a situation where you had a relationship with someone, friendship, or there was a misunderstanding, and instead of talking it out, and there is a misunderstanding there, you block them or you avoid. That's what I'm talking about. So either you're avoiding something that's very small and can be resolved relatively easily, or you're avoiding something with somebody that you should be able to talk it out with, like a friend, right? Um, or someone you've been on a few dates with. It's not appropriate to ghost someone if you spent hours with them. That's not psychologically sound. And I'm tired of people acting like it. Because see, the thing is, there's a lot of psychological science out there, but people don't like that. They like, hey, you deserve everything handed to you on a silver platter because you're the best bestie. Diva, you deserve 5 boyfriends and a husband. Like, that's what people, or flip it. Soldier, for boy, whatever you want to call a guy, like, bro, you deserve 15 girlfriends and $1 million. Like, people like that. And that's not psychology. Sorry. I know psychology. That's weaponized narcissism. So anyway, basically, this is a huge thing because people will just block and ghost each other and shun each other like the Amish used to do, which we could say is really the historical beginnings. Probably even before that, probably in ancient tribes, they would cast you out for breaking a taboo, whatever. But where we are now, there's more ease than ever, and it's more socially acceptable than ever to just say, I'm not addressing this. Even if my job hinges on it, my marriage hinges on it, my friendship hinges on it, doesn't matter. It's uncomfortable. And that's the cardinal sin of the postmodern era, is discomfort, or the meta modern era. Wherever you think we are on the era's timeline, Taylor Swift unintentional reference, then put us. That's fine. But discomfort is the cardinal sin. It used to be intolerance. I think now it's wider because intolerance is specific. Discomfort could be, you made a joke and you didn't even know you were being intolerant and somebody gets rid of you, right? That's discomfort. So you just didn't like it. And you don't owe someone an explanation. So that thing again, owing. You don't owe this or that. We all owe each other a little bit to live in a society that's not under threat of predators from outside, like literal living in a jungle and lion, like whatever. Sorry, I know lions aren't in the jungle. You could be torn apart by predators on the savannah or the jungle, wherever, right? Like we all have to look out for each other to an extent to live in a functioning culture. So that's another conversation, though. But we don't think that now. We've created so much independence and so much isolation that the idea that you would even need to be, in some sense, civil to people is completely disgusting to many. And I mean that. I will double down on it because the idea is don't get in my way. I'm so upset and needy of attention that you need to just be aware I'm for me. And if you don't fit in that box of pleasing me, I'm discarding you. Okay. Well, that society won't last more than about one generation that way, because what will happen is there'll be such a deterioration that families will fall apart, which they are. People won't learn any values, which they aren't. And there will be a rampant sense of depression and isolation, which there is. Okay. Very interesting how that works. So, all right. We're covering the basics here. So, why is avoidance culture a problem? Well, because no ability, so no grit and no resilience are developed. And gender relations will go to absolute hell in a handbasket quickly, and they have. And you'll have people who claim to be Christian who turn people away from Christ by blocking and avoiding and putting a bunch of Jesus stuff on their Instagram profile, but then completely at the sign of trouble or misunderstanding, blocking and acting like they're a victim. So again, like people in the Christian community want to be martyrs in the sense of say, well, I could stand up and, unalive for my beliefs, but they won't live for their beliefs. You have to live for your beliefs, right? And part of that is being okay with discomfort in the short term. And that's not something that a lot of Gen Z Christians or Gen Alpha Christians ever want to deal with. They would rather talk about becoming a martyr. And I'm talking from experience of being in shared group Christian groups where they talk about where what they want to address is talked about, and then I see the behavior, I hear things, and I see active examples of avoidance. So I think it's important we talk about this because to my estimation, no one is. I'm not seeing it. Maybe some of the people I follow on here mutual, like some of my friends here on Substack, I need to dig deeper and talk with them about it. But it's very narcissistic to think that you don't ever have to talk something out. And we see a lot of the elements of narcissism that are grandiose because it's usually a male in a business suit who is like charming and seen as a snake that is the quote narcissist. But someone who's insecure but all about themselves and still is all about their own needs is still narcissistic. And they usually handle things by cutting you off and guilt tripping you, right? Forcing you to be codependent. So I think this is all extremely important stuff. And I wanted to get a lot of my conceptions out there early to kind of claim the spot and say what I think and have it in writing, have it in video. Thank you all for being here who were here. Please send me questions about this important topic, if you will, if you wish, and catch you on the next one. Thank you.